What's up, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of Connecticut Casual. I'm here today with the lovely Satine Phoenix. You may know her from the Dungeons and Dragons official Twitch channel and her show, The Sirens of the Realms. It's going to be a good one. Cue my intro.
Connecticut Casual.
As Connecticut's leading janitorial company, Limpiex Cleaning Service Inc. utilizes state-of-the-art technology combined with extensive training to deliver top-quality services. Since 1992, we have helped homes and businesses in the New Haven County and the surrounding areas with facility maintenance and janitorial services. Our goal is to provide thorough yet efficient services that get the job done without disrupting your day-to-day routine. From medical and terminal cleaning to construction cleanup to janitorial services, we offer comprehensive cleaning options that meet your needs. We specialize in working with industrial companies, offices, medical facilities, surgery centers, schools, buildings, universities, residential, and specialty structures. When you choose Limpiex Cleaning Service, you are choosing the highest quality cleaning services available and delivered by trained professionals. For more information or for a free quote, contact us today at 203-230-8159. We look forward to working with you.
Hello.
Hi. And let me.
How you doing?
Ready.
I only see you.
There we go.
Hi.
Hi, guys. How's it going?
Hello. Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
That's pretty cool.
Unfortunately, GaryCon didn't work out, but I
I
felt
know.
like they actually handled that pretty well, huh?
I like the virtual aspect of it. It was cool.
Yeah,
Hopefully-
it's really.
Hopefully everything calms down. We'll be there next year.
I know.
Oh man, so many plans ruined because of this. I had two trips I was going to. I was going to Canada and I was going to the Bahamas, and both of them just.
I know. I'm really glad I went on Joko Cruise. Right.
How was that?
Oh, it was amazing. It was a bunch of nerds. So
I was getting worried because I saw you on Instagram, and I was just like, "Oh no!" I hope you, because there's people getting trapped on cruise ships and stuff.
Well, if you actually looked into it, what it was is old people going on cruises to Hong Kong and Japan. So that's why the majority of them were on the West Coast. It's because they went from there to Seattle and San Francisco. So that was a big problem. So you have an entire cruise ship of nerds that all, it was actually fine. None of us got COVID.
Well,
if anything, it would have been great to be stuck on that.
Go back around.
Yeah, I mean, it was as luxurious as it gets.
No, that's awesome. How are you holding up over there at home?
I mean, I'm great. I've got a fucking playpen. So
I have video games.
Yeah, well, I'm a writer and an artist. So as you can see here, I'm surrounded by art, and there's no way I could ever get bored. Plus, when I made my comics, it was me in my apartment for 4 months and nothing else.
Oh,
so
wow.
This is okay.
Yeah, right. It's a nice as much as it's scary outside, sometimes I'm kind of I'm okay with this. It's you're home, you get to relax, you get to catch up on stuff. So it's just trying to find the good in it.
Yeah, my boyfriend and I hang out, so we either go to his house or my house. So at least we're going places, and then we go shopping together. And we're still Skyping. We're gonna do we go to Ren Fair, and we're a new relationship, but we've both been going to Ren Fair our whole lives. So it's we're gonna do a Ren Fair variety show in a week.
That's so awesome.
Yeah,
definitely. I've never been to a Ren Fair. I always wanted to go though.
It's so fun, and he's such a he has more costumes than I do, so this will be really fun.
My buddy is a knight. He is the Knights of Ronin out here in Connecticut for the Ren Fairs.
Wow.
And he was just you should be our bard. And I'm I can't really picture myself in leotards, and just dancing around,
Oh no, you obviously don't know much about bards. Bards.
You're the bard expert.
That's right. I am the bard expert. So you can be any kind of bard you want to be.
That's very
So
true.
unless
Yeah.
you secretly want to be a leotard bard, that's up to you. Nobody's saying
Kind of. I mean, uh-huh.
Okay, hold on. I got to get rid of this cat, otherwise she's gonna like be up on my shit all the time. Hold on.
No problem.
Okay, I am arrived. All right, let's do this.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Let's
So,
get started.
I recently watched the newest episode, or one of the episodes of Critical Works All Work No Play, Critical Roles.
Yeah.
The spa, how was that? That looked like it was really fun.
Oh, it was decadent.
So during the episode, you mentioned something real quick about hanging from hooks.
Yeah. So I got suspended from meat hooks as a Valentine's Day present to myself in 2008. And yeah, my friend flew in from Texas. He's an expert in the Alan Faulkner, and he invented the knee suspension. And he came out, and there was a big fetish party. And so we did that. It was very ritualistic. It's not like I'm going up in hooks. Whee! It's like a process. You get yourself into a meditative state. You have somebody there that you trust. But yeah, that was my Valentine's Day present to myself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was
That's cool.
transcendent.
Oh, wow. All I got my girl was like boots.
Yeah. And there's I enjoy experiences. So for presents I usually say either and I'm not shy about this. I love jewelry. I do. I'm a girly girl, but also I like experiences. So that is an experience. And all work no play. I like to hang out with my friends, but I don't hang out with people in like, hey, let's go sit and hang out. It's always a something. So all work no play. Hey, let's go to the spa, get acupuncture. Like that is actually how I normally play with friends, except there was a camera there.
Cool. That's awesome.
That is pretty, like, I like it. It's just very open about like that type of experience too, which I mean, like, I don't know if I could do it. So
Hey man,
it's
you only
like,
live once, right?
right?
Like might as
Amen.
well explore what you're capable of. Anything that interests you, as long as it's not hurting other people. I mean, honestly, like there isn't anything wrong if you have a fetish that you're into, as long as you're not hurting other people, or if it is and everyone consents to it within reason. You're inflicting pain within reason and everyone consents, then there's nothing wrong with it.
Are you like you mean kind of like the BDSM community type stuff? Like
Yeah, I
consenting?
used to do that a long time ago. Obviously, I'm not anymore. I'm older and I can't do things I used to do. But I don't condemn it at all. And I really think it's good for people to explore themselves. Everyone changes. I don't have the same interests I used to. But I am so glad that I gave myself permission to explore that, because now I turn 40 in like a month-ish. And I don't have to, I'm not thinking about those things. Like, I wonder what would have happened if, like I don't get that. I don't have FOMO for my youth.
Yeah, you don't live in like the what ifs, which is
Never.
that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Thanks.
So back on the subject of D&D, do you remember your first Dungeons and Dragons character? Was it 5th edition or was it sooner?
You guys don't know much about Satine. Let me tell you a little about Satine. I've been playing for 32 years.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I've been playing for 32 years since I was 8 years old. And if you play Idle Champions, the video game, you can play my first character. Her name is Vlanya Umvara, and also my cat, my gray cat who's here behind me, she is a character. Or no, she's not a character. She's not a familiar, but you can play her. Like she has a card. And my cat's name is RPG.
That's so cute.
Yeah. And so the character that I made when I was younger, she now is the band manager for Sirens. So Vlanya Umvara, probably, if you've ever seen the D&D live, I cosplay her. It's the only character I cosplay. So yeah.
That's awesome.
That's pretty rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's in a video game. I mean, come on.
Right, exactly.
Right?
I'm like over here like, come on. You're like living one of my goals. I wish one of my characters could be video game. How did that even come to be? How did you get one of your characters to be in a video game?
I didn't get her into a video game. Idle Champions, since I've been like a part of the Dungeons and Dragons family for the last like 5 years, I've been running events over at Meltdown Comics, 10 years ago. They were like, hey, this is an idea that we have. They had Archon on there. So they were like, Satine, we know that you love Vlanya, and how would you feel if she was a character? And I was like, yeah.
Definitely.
That's so rad.
I love it. So Sirens of the Realm, how was that experience being on Twitch channel, on the Dungeons and Dragons Twitch channel, being a DM?
It's pretty remarkable. So, 4 years ago in 2016, my friend and I started a live streaming group, and that kind of evolved. And it was a lot of, he was a dungeon master. I tried I got my feet wet with it because I've only been dungeon mastering for 10 years as of this year. And I got in a car accident in 2015 and I couldn't think. I couldn't imagine. I couldn't hardly speak. So I had to retrain myself to do that. So after a couple years of live streaming and playing on streams, I was like, I'm ready for my own, right? So by then I was more involved with Dungeons and Dragons directly, and they were like, pitch us a show. And I'm like, all right. I think I was on a road trip when I came up with this too. I was like, okay, it's an all bard band on tour. Like, how cool is that? And a lot of my friends are actors and musicians and singers, so it was kind of a duh, you know. And they loved it. They let me have, they let me run with that. I'm a stage performer. I've been doing theater since I was in high school. So honestly, and also I'm a director. I'm an art director. I'm a writer. This is playing Dungeons and Dragons, being a dungeon master on the D&D, Twitch. That's just another medium for me to express myself as an entertainer. And also, I just love gathering people. And I got to gather my friends who are like me, very outgoing, they love improv, and being able to improv with my friends who are musicians and trust them that I'm going to put them in a situation, they're going to perform. Like, that's it. We wanted to do something that was like Gem meets Shira, uplifting and musical. And honestly, I am honored. It was supposed to be an all-girl bard band, and then one of my best friends in the whole world is Jason Charles Miller, and he's like, "Can I guest on it?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, you can guest on it." And he's now a Siren bro, and he's their ally. He's he stands up for them, and if anyone gives him any crap, he steps in, and then they step in and say, "You don't have to step in for us." But it's nice, and they write their own songs. We're gonna do an album this summer. We have enough songs to do an album now.
That's actually pretty
That's
sick.
so cool.
So, I mean, I came from in high school and all that. I was also in theater and stuff, and just like, what got you to be like, I could sit down and play Dungeons and Dragons? Because I know theater people who are still kind of like, that's not my thing, But what was the first draw for you? Was it that improv? Were you just were you more attracted to that, or were you always kind of like, I really like this fantasy and spiritual stuff?
I think my experience, I've actually heard this experience more often because I grew up in the 80s. I found one of the boxes, one of the starter boxes, when I was 8 years old in my dad's basement, and I found it and I was like, oh my gosh. Now, at the same time, I used to hang out as a kid at libraries because next door to my grandmother's house was a library. That was my playground. So I've been reading from a really, 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 really young, which is why my charity, the fundraiser I do is for Reach Out and Read Childhood Literacy Foundation charity. And so by 8 years old, I was already reading really intense stuff. I think by 10, I was reading Lord of the Rings. So it was natural. I had the book, I had the box set, I was making my own characters, I was making my own stories. I wasn't playing with anyone until high school. So I was playing by myself, making up all these characters and making these stories, reading Dragonlance, reading, Tolkien. And then I saw my friends playing. I think I heard that a couple friends were playing in my youth group, but actually saw my friends playing in high school. And I just walked in and was like, I'm playing this game with you. And they're like, cool. So I forced them to let me play. They would kill my character. So Vlanya was Vlanya, and then she was Lanya, and then Falanya, and I just kept making the same character over and over. But yeah, it's the fantasy of it. It's, Castle in the Attic, it's Indian in the Cupboard, it's all the fantastical escapism things that I love as a storyteller. I get to do that in the games.
That's like a beautiful description. Look, I love it. That was great.
So good.
Fran just killed me. He tried to kill me when we played together.
Oh, honey, there are worse things than death in gaming. I keep warning my players. I'm like, I'm not going to kill you. And they're like, what the hell does that mean? I'm like, yeah, think about it.
Fran would just get mad. Like, I remember when I made one of my first character sheets for his game, he calls my other friend and is just like, does this idiot know what he's doing? I'm like, oh my God.
That did not happen.
Then I was so much fun to play with.
Our friend was like, he sent me a message like, hey man, I got this guy I work with and he wants to play D&D. He knows his stuff. He knows how to play. He knows how to do all of it. I was like, okay, cool, sure. Yeah, bring him in. So I sent him all the links. I sent him all the PDFs. I sent him all that. I was like, here, man, here's all you need. Come ready. And he came ready. And I was like, hey, man, you ready? He's like, nope. I was like, all right.
It's more fun when you're not ready.
Exactly.
My opinion.
And I
sometimes you just got to dive in.
Well, people get stuck. So it's great.
Yeah. That's always fun. I like to put them in situations where maybe they're going to die and instead maim them. Or if they're knocked out, or if they go under their hit points, you can knock them out. And you think about the purpose of the battle. What is the battle? Is the battle 100% we're kill or be killed, or is there a purpose for the monsters to be there, which is we're trying to gain creatures for our undead army. We are Yanti and we need to turn you into an abomination. Like, there are way cooler things than just killing. And as a dungeon master, you have the say of whether or not a character is dead. Or you can just make the player think their character is dead.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, definitely.
You have that kind of control.
You seem like you already answered one of our next questions, which is the kind of DM you are. Which, do you over prepare, under prepare, or are you just more kind of like in the moment? You seem like you have a pretty good idea of what you would do already.
Improving makes it easier to do things if you're prepared or not. So right now, my boyfriend and I are writing a campaign, and when play testing it, we had the bones of it, and it was awesome. I was like, wow, this is great structure. Well, if I'm doing a live stream, I have to prepare. I at least have to prepare the time beats, right? So I write it like a script. If I'm I'm at home with a bunch of friends and we have 6 hours, 8 hours, a whole night, 2 days or whatever, like, it's way loose. So honestly, my preparation level is situational. Some games, so if I'm running, I'm running 2 Descent games on my Patreon, that I have to be more prepared because I can't make things up because they're from the book, or I can be moderately prepared and also make things up and add things to it and move it around, because a lot of the people that are playing have played it before or are dungeon masters who run it. So I also have to remember that and adjust it so it's new for them too. So.
I mean, have you ever just like felt like you wrote such a great thing, and then you have that friend who's a little bit more experienced than you, and they just crush your camp? They just try to crush everything that you've written in a world, or anything like that?
No, no, my friends are cool. And also, like, you think about it, right? My friends are the people I play with, we all know that we have an X amount of time together. If it's Patreon, usually it's a 6 months to 1 year campaign, and we only have once a month to play, and we have 3 hours to play. There's no metagaming, there's no cross-talking. Everyone is 100% in. They're in for this story. I start off all the players they all know each other, so there's no trust issues within the game. And preparing them with a session 0, that helps a lot. Also, I'm very upfront. I have brain damage. Some days I can't add numbers and I can't track initiative, and I say, hey guys, it's like a level 7 brain day. I'm not at 10 yet, so I need your help. And honestly, that kind of honesty and letting the players know that you're human too and you're in this with them, it helps them not try to punk you. Also, why would you want to play with someone that's going to punk you? That's not cool, and it's not fun. I mean, think about it. Everyone's volunteering their time. Time is one of the most precious things we have in the world, And if somebody's constantly trying to like interfere, it not only messes with your valuable time, but it messes with the 5 other people at the table's valuable time. And so now you're focused on this person who is hogging the spotlight, trying to derail you. I do things. I've been dungeon mastering, like I said, for 10 years. I've been playing for 32 years. You have to think about um, every gaming experience that you have is a lesson for the next time. Therefore, I plan, my games are modular. So if somebody wants to go, if everyone wants to go right, but that one person wants to go left and they're like, fine, we'll go left, I just take and move and rearrange and everyone stays on the story. It's not quite railroading. It is a little bit railroading, but there's a finesse to it to make them feel like they're not being railroaded. And the choices, right? I do a lot of studying on story structure. And sometimes characters, or rather players, get lost because you're running a Skyrim game instead of a movie. So my games are movies, and I use the story structure, and that gives them the hook and the player agency. And also I use uh, like choose your own adventure style trees. If they go left, what's left that'll get them back on track. If they go right, what's right that'll get them back on track. There's only so many choices. And also, I study psychology. So, understanding the way humans think about things and how they make choices. It's a very vulnerable place. Gaming in general, no matter what game you're playing, it's a very vulnerable place. It comes from that childlike part inside of you. So I also am thinking about what scares them, what intrigues them, what do they want to challenge themselves, how do they want to show off to their friends. There's all these little things that I think about as a dungeon master that make games. It's not just a bunch of people at a table. There's purpose to everything I do, and I'm very sensitive to everyone at the table's needs, how quiet they are, how confident they are, how maybe someone's confident and they stop. All of a sudden I have to think about why did they back off, and also thinking about how to make it not obvious that I'm now kind of changing and shifting tone so that they feel more comfortable. Or someone who's really shy, I'm trying, okay, here's another thing I can do to make that shy person come out without pinpointing them, because then there's shame, and then I'm studying shame avoidance so that I don't do that. I'm learning how to talk, how to listen between the words that people say, and how to listen to the quiet they don't say. There's a lot. I study a lot in order to be the dungeon master that I am.
That's awesome. I'm impressed. That's so
Yeah.
cool. I love it.
I take this seriously. This is my
And
life. You guys can see
that's-
here, I've got this tattoo for a reason.
I was just about to say too. I was just like, you take this serious. Like you go above and beyond for your people.
Well, I'm a professional dungeon master. You know, time is valuable, money is valuable. If somebody is paying to be at my table, I want to give them as rich of an experience as possible. You know, we're all here for a reason. I'm writing a book on how Dungeons and Dragons helped me through my childhood trauma and helped me through PTSD. And now that I'm in a place where I can facilitate that for other people. A lot of people don't realize why they play games, the escapism, or it's very rare that's like, I just want to do this thing. There's usually something. Even sometimes it's a big thing, like for me, but sometimes it's just a little thing. Maybe it's just a little vent you need because your boss is always writing you, or your kids are loud, and honestly this is the only 3-hour thing that you have in the month to quiet, or it's the only type of control that you have, is the control you have over your character.
I can relate to that a lot personally. Like, I mean, when I play Dungeons and Dragons, I always try my best. I try so hard to not create the same MO of character, but there's something inside me that always wants to play like that kind of more underdog hero character who rises up, and that comes a lot from what my past traumas, and you kind of play, and what I've experienced in this and through all of my history on it. It's you like I play what I wish I had when I was a kid, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
You're
So
reliving your childhood and
exactly.
exploring your boundaries that way.
Yeah. So it kind of just I think it adds that extra like heart into your character. It adds that it makes you want to like improv it. It makes you think about what your character is going to do. It puts you in this like different headspace that automatically kind of makes you just really really just get immersed in this game. And I think that's something that some people who haven't played it don't understand, on how
Yeah.
easily you could be so involved with this character you're playing, because it's an
Yeah.
extension of you. Yeah,
And
it's
it's
like
really fun because you make these backstories, right? These elaborate backstories, and then you remember their backstories, just like you are you and all your backstory. And so every choice you make from here on out is usually because of that. But your alignment can change, your personality can change with how people treat you from here on out. So, say you're this loner character and you find this group because they're off, they're mercenaries, but they start treating you well. Maybe you don't stab that next guy in the back of the head. You know what I mean? Like all of a
yeah,
sudden you are changed because of your surroundings. And even your character, who probably was abandoned or abused, they actually have their own PTSD and can heal from it as well.
oh, I love it. I
Yeah,
feel
most people don't expect to have these types of conversations and
you know
I
what though,
love
but
this. This
I
is
love it
great.
too because it sheds this light, and that's like something we try to do with our channel. Like it's very much about getting in front of like mental health and getting in front of like adversities. And we had a shout out to Sarah Gallardo. We had, she came on, was very much a big advocate for domestic violence. And we use our channel to like, as much as it's games and funniness and stuff like that, we get in front of mental health. And I think that's a lot of stuff that like Dungeons and Dragons does as well. And I've seen this crazy resurgence on it. So I think it's really helping a lot of people in that community, because there's people I went to high school with that probably loved this game and I never gave it a chance, and now I'm like, hey, let's just play together. And like they feel so like involved and like, holy crap, Chris Crespo wants to play Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm like, yeah, let's play. So it makes people feel united too. It's like there's no I don't know. I
Yeah,
can go
no,
on
I
all day
understand
about
it 100%. So when I started the group at Meltdown Comics, it's in Hollywood, right? So you'd expect, oh, it's a game store, it's a comic book store. Who goes in there? J.J. Abrams came in. I taught his kid, D&D. It's like, here, this is, this, you are a normal person. You also love Dungeons and Dragons. People come in from all walks of life. Men and women came in. And back then, women still were not accepted in, you know, game stores and comic book stores. It was a weird thing. Now it's not. You know why? Because of other women like myself who came out there and said, hey, I've been doing this my whole life. I make comic books. I've been playing games since I was 8 years old. It's not weird. You've got all these studios around here where normal people, they work behind the scenes, or they're writers, or they're cameramen, or they're compositors, 3D animators, illustrators, graphic designers. Audio guys come in and they're like, why, always wanted to play this, but I wasn't nerdy enough to
isn't
play.
that such a
And I'm
weird
like,
thing?
what? Yeah. So now you've got this beautiful community. I run the meetup group out here. I think we're over 2,000 members for
Dang,
the
That's
wow.
awesome.
meetup.com/LA
Congratulations.
tabletop gamers. Yeah. And that's all them. I just kind of put it up. I sent out information for the game stores to, post their games. And yeah, it grows on its own, just like Dungeons and Dragons grows on its own. And the best thing about live streaming, you know, like, you now have people all over the world who have access to, well, they now have visibility, right? I am Filipino American. And now I got to meet this girl. She is Filipino up in UC Merced at a talk I did. And she was like, Panay. And I'm like, yeah, Panay. And how I didn't have a role model like me when I was growing up. I mean, Madonna, yeah, and David Bowie. Those are
That's a
mine.
good role model.
That was pretty good, and Papa Sagan. But other than that, like, I didn't have somebody who was just like me out there. And that's why I'm very open about who I am and what I do and how my life journey has gone, and how now I just am a life coach, a dungeon master coach, a player coach, and I just want to help other people. I am While all this virtual stuff is happening, I'm like, I have this platform. I have Gilding Light, and I have other women dungeon masters. We're organizing this in the next 2 to 3 weeks. There's going to be about 4 or 5 different shows up that are all female, and it's wildly diverse, right? Ages and ethnicities, and all female dungeon masters with a whole variety of players, not just women, just like everybody. And so now I hope that um, my platform shows that everyone is accepted and that there are no boundaries for gaming. There's no ages, there's no age restriction, there's asshole restriction. Like, don't be a dick, just play a game. Everything can be really fun.
Absolutely.
And, last year I did my Euro tour. That was amazing. Milan, Barcelona, Paris,
Oh,
London.
Barcelona.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love it there.
Let me tell you, I had no idea how amazing Barcelona was until I went. I was like,
The building, the architecture there is phenomenal.
oh, Gaudi. I mean, come on. But also all the other architects. Yeah, absolutely. And going to these other countries and understanding that, they, for a long time, they didn't have access to videos. They didn't have access to Geek and Sundry and all that amazingness. And now anybody can. Anybody
Yeah.
can do this. When I went to Milan, it was like Zoltar and Nico, they treat it like soccer.
That's
There's
awesome.
I have a video posted of them with their D&D chant. Something siempre, Rolo, siempre. I was like, I don't know what that means. I'm into it. And
Yeah, definitely.
watching how all these other countries are now finally being able to share their love with each other is because of conventions and because of visible and audio accessibility, and yeah.
Oh man, there's so
I'm
many good
kind of
things.
passionate about this, all right?
That's so you have to be though, because
I like
you dedicated yourself.
Yeah,
great.
well, it's not even like I'm so obsessed. I am surprised they're not Dungeons and Dragons isn't weirded out. Like, it was an honor to be their community manager, and
Wow.
it was funny because after the first year, it was like, I actually can reach more people as not their community manager, as just being Satine. And so, I got to break off and do all this other stuff with globally. Like, it's pretty phenomenal. You can see my Dungeon Master screen up there, or my Dungeon Master's guide, and the
Oh, nice.
and the
I
beholder.
love it.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Dude, you are like probably one of the most passionate people I've seen in this community. So, I mean, like, granted, we're in Connecticut, so it's just like not a lot. Everyone's just kind of like, do you want to play at the card shop? There's no anyone of influence. I wouldn't say anyone of influence out here, but there's not really money influencers out here to make it more mainstream for people.
I didn't get paid for this. My ex and I, we put so much money into our shows, and it was just this like labor of love. The Meltdown Comics, I volunteered twice a week for D&D. I volunteered once or twice a week for the live drawing, and every other Sunday or once a month, I would do a pancake breakfast that was like hundreds of dollars, and bacon and eggs, and it was so fun. And I just, any income, I just put it back into the store so the store would be able to, I mean, it wasn't much. They sold more in comics, but just whatever I could do for the community. So I don't know what people see. I don't know what it looks like from the outside, but it was a labor of love until a couple years ago. And then it changed. And now I am a professional DM. So, and I still can't help myself. I still do things just like my birthday last year. I played D&D on a jet, and I got my friends to come out and play. Yeah, go look that up on the Gilding Light YouTube.
I have to now, yeah.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was Eric from Idle Champions and Patrick Rothfuss, TJ Storm, Luke Gygax.
I love Patrick Rothfuss.
Oh, he's so wonderful. And let's see, Nora Ibrahim and Stefan Pokorny, because we did our documentary to Iceland on storytelling. Yeah, man, it was incredible. There was this moment on the jet where I'm like, I can't believe like this is so expensive. I can't believe I'm doing this, but I don't ask other people for anything. If I want something, I will go and get it because I don't want to put anyone out. But like we're sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, we're pulling this off. This is amazing. Thank you to Kaylee Bray, who was my assistant at the time. Otherwise it wouldn't have happened. And we're getting ready to take off. They have this little cake and these cocktails, they Satine, and it was like the most luxurious thing I've ever done. And all of a sudden, Luke gets a smirk on his face, and we're like, what is he up to? And he's like, he pushes play and it's like, roll a D6, roll a D6. And I was like, this is it, like it doesn't matter where you are in your life or who you are in like the influencer community. We're all just nerdy nerds. And I love it and I embrace it. And I wouldn't want life to be any other way.
That's great. And I hope like people who are listening who are probably like, oh, I've never tried D&D. I hope that they see this interview and just go, yeah, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna do it. There's so much energy coming from you that it's radiating through the screen, so it's definitely something.
Yeah, I mean that's why I felt like Gilding Light was an appropriate name for my company because it's just like squee. It's like the visual squee.
Oh man.
So real quick, I did want to ask you, what other tabletop games are you a big fan of? Do you play anything else other than D&D or?
So I usually don't because I always feel like I'm cheating on Dungeons and Dragons because I have this like weird secret relationship in my head to D&D. But I'm watching Sopranos, so my Gumars, my mistresses are Vampire the Masquerade because of vampires, and that was the game I played in high school too. So in high school it was D&D like 90% of the time, and then Vampire. I LARPed that a little bit until it got weird, and then Cyberpunk was really cool too. Shadowrun became cool in college, but now I love Vampire. The new Vampire is phenomenal. Jennifer Kretschmer ran me through 10 Candles. Have you guys played 10 Candles?
No.
You play with 10 tea lights, and that's the only light in the room, and everyone knows they're going to die. At the end of the game, everybody dies. But by the end of the game, you're like, no, I'm going to be the last one alive. And it's amazing. And what it taught me was survival, like understanding survival. Like that is a really important thing. And the player, as a storyteller, your players get to add to the scenes. So like, here's a scenario. Then one person says, well, I have a flashlight. And the other person says, I have keys to a car. Another person adds to it. And when it gets back to the storyteller, we're like, okay, well, that flashlight's batteries are dead. Or that, when you guys go to that car's battery is dead. So there's a lot of push and pull. And it's really fun to remember that as a game master, you are there with the players and you don't have to wear the weight of the world on your shoulders. Having your players say, okay, I'm in a tavern. Well, is there a chandelier in this tavern? Hell yes, there is. Is there a rope attached to that chandelier? Can I swing from it? Hell yeah, you can. Or you can try roll acrobatics. The other game, and so on Joko, I was just on Joko Cruise. I went with Pat and hung out with James D'Amato and his partner. And oh my goodness. So James is like, he loves gaming, but he basically taught me a bunch of other games. Like that's his thing, right? One shot RPG. And so I was like, what is this other stuff? Of all the games that he taught me, he made one called Noisy. And it's like a voice actor. It's a card game, but it's also kind of like, I have nothing to compare it to except for like Super Fight or Cards Against Humanity, where there's one person, you draw like the black card, and then that has a certain like rule thing on it, and then everyone else has to do a couple other things in order for that person to judge which one is best. Well, this one's for voice acting. So you lay down a character like urban druid, and then the player has attributes and a phrase that they have phrases. So I can either play an attribute. This is how we played it, but I always mess up rules. You play an attribute, so it's like a Scottish druid or a romantic Scottish urban druid, and then you have phrases, and so everyone has to say their phrase that they think fits for that thing in that accent and perform it. Yeah, it was really
wow,
fun.
that sounds
What?
good.
All right, I know what
It's
game
good
we're
for
going.
dungeon masters to like practice your NPCs.
Okay.
What's that game called one more time?
Noisy.
Noisy. That one and the
Okay.
Kindle one, I definitely want to try that one. We're doing that on this show.
As soon as the quarantine is over, we are going back to Studio A, and that's what we're playing next.
Yeah. Everyone's doing live streaming. We're even moving Sirens. We're gonna do a weekly show now. Which is hard.
That's awesome.
It's hard because the lag and they can't perform together, which kills me. Because that's like one of my favorite things that they do.
It is. I'll say, like, you know, a big thing is we have a nice studio that we usually do this show at, and a lot of people are like, we're worried, and you're gonna do it through, you know, computer, and then like the live stream that I do on weeknights, it's like, yeah, they hate the delay too. So it's just, it's an obstacle we're all trying to overcome as content creators at this point. So
yeah. No, I get that. As long as you have consistent lighting, so if everyone has similar lighting, you guys, you got a front light on your front and then darker in the back, that helps. And also, I'm trying to, I started playing with layouts to get that feel. Also, everyone has to up their gaming now because everyone's live streaming. So what are you going to do that's going to make you stand out from everyone else?
yeah.
What's more important, the background or the players? The audio or the visual? Well, it's the audio and it's also the visual. And now there's so many choices. Your story's got to be real tight. So study storytelling. There's a book out there. If you guys haven't read it, it's called Story by Robert McKee. And that breaks down a lot of cool things. This is like my last tidbit for you guys, since I know we're running out of time. This is one of my most recommended books because it tells you about what to do in a scene. So everything has a need. You know, your players have a need. The bad guys have a need too, right? How are they going to accomplish that need? Is it only through fighting? Are they trying to figure out what your good guys are capable of? Do they need to win? Do they need to pretend to win? Like, what is it? So understanding that helps a lot. So check out Story by Robert McKee.
Absolutely, I'm gonna order it.
I'm literally.
Is it an ebook?
Yeah, it is. So I now, I don't know if you guys can see, but I have bookshelves everywhere, and this one, and so I can't buy any more physical books because there's no place for them. I now have an entire insane library on my Audible, and I just read. I think I'm on book 14 of the Dresden Files in 2 months. I've now eaten this up. Like, I can't stop. I'm usually reading
Audible.
like 3 books at a time.
Right now I have, just speaking of Audible, to get me through all of this stuff, I've read The Art of War, which is a nice short read. And then I've been reading some of the Dungeons and Dragons, like, Audible stuff. Like, I've read White Plum Mountain, and then I obviously have the Necronomicon. And
do you have the Patrick Rothfuss books?
I do.
Those out.
My
those
friend got them for me for Secret Santa.
Oh my God. The Name of the Wind. Yeah,
yep, I started at the beginning of that.
That's
I think I'm like 50 pages in.
Yeah, if you want to study story and ways to jump around time and story structure and even chapter structure, check. Oh, it's so good. I actually had to it was so good. I had to take a break from listening to books because I tried to listen to another book right after. There's 2 books in that series, and I was so judgy about the writing. I was like, I can't listen to anything or I'm going to be that nerd.
And I have Story from Robert McKee. That's why I pulled out my Audible, because I was just like, I have that.
You bought it right on the spot.
No, I've had it. It's in here.
Oh, okay.
I bought that when I was trying to write. We have a game coming out real quick. It's called Knuckleheads Legion. And I've been like trying to write, like, because Fran is very the technical DM, where he like knows the rules and like he could spit the rules. I'm very like if it's cool, I'm gonna totally just like make it happen, bend the rules type of guy. Like, and some people hate it, but I think it makes an awesome story.
My favorite thing is when players are like, actually, the rule is this. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I know that. And also, you kind of should have just let this other thing happen, because now you're not going to get this stuff. And they're like, oh, shoot. No, wait. Like, you called me out. So here we go. Because sometimes, well, it's not, because it's not about like calling me out. It's maybe I have a plan for you, because usually I'm working for them. Like, I have my story, and the story is there to give them obstacles, but I'm there to hope the best. I wish the best for them. I want them to win. That's my goal. It's not my fault if they, mess up the world.
I just like writing like really great narratives. Like, that's my big one. I like to write like compelling stories where it almost kind of makes like the real world character go, holy shit. Like, what do I do here? Like, that's my goal when I decide to DM, and when I bend the rules on stuff. Like, I feel like it's just sometimes it's for the good of the narrative. It's like if it makes like the player have the best story and the best adventure, then like, I feel like that's what the essence of Dungeons and Dragons was supposed to be out after all. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're supposed to be doing as DMs.
Even like if they roll a 1, that gives an opportunity for fun. It's called roll for story. It's so much fun, and I love it now that my players know that I do that, because they roll a 1, they're like, I make them hit themselves. So if they go to fight something, they attack and they roll a 1, they have to roll damage and then tell everyone how they hit themselves. And they are so much meaner than I am. So I almost have to provide something to ease their pain, because they're like, or they'll make it really funny and everyone has a good time.
Well, yes, I know that we also said we were running out of time. So if there's anything you want to plug, please plug it for our audiences. Tell them where they can find you, get to you, and ask any advice from you.
Cool. Well, if you guys want to know more, there's a whole series called GM Tips. Patreon.com/Satine Phoenix is where you can go and get one-on-one coaching with me for either your games, your stories, your screenplay, or as characters. I do a lot of character one-on-ones, so you can practice. I also run 7 games on Patreon, so if you want to join one of those games, come and play. Also, there's a new show coming out on Roll20. It's called Game Advice with Satine Phoenix, and that should be out in the next few weeks.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. This was a pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll come back anytime,
Okay.
Well, closing us out, guys, that's this week's episode of Connecticut Casual. If you want to follow us for great content, hit the subscribe button below. Check out our website at www.ahalflifestart.com. Thank you, guys. Go check out Satine. She is so awesome. And I love each and every one of you. Have a good night. Thanks.
Take care.
Connecticut Casual.